The doorbell echoed like a desperate, frantic heartbeat through the vast, silent marble halls of the grand estate. On the other side of that massive, imposing door stood a woman whose hollow, haunted eyes carried the immense, crushing weight of 1,000 silent, unshed cries. And in her trembling, tooth-in arms, a little girl, no older than 5, clung to her like a withered, forgotten leaf in a storm. Before we begin this incredible story, I'm curious. What time is it where you are right now? Is it day or night? Whatever time it is, we're grateful you're here with us. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, Kindness Corner, and share it with someone who needs a little bit of hope today. She didn't ask for money. She didn't beg for shelter. With a voice that was as fragile and as beautiful as cracked ancient porcelain, she simply, and with all the dignity she had left in the world, said, "Please, ... Can I clean your house? It's just for a plate of food for my daughter." Inside, the man who opened the door, Whitmore, one of the wealthiest and most powerful figures in the entire city, looked at her face, and he froze. The cool, professional mask of the ruthless CEO, the mask he wore every single day of his life, simply fell away. His strong, confident fingers loosened from the heavy, ornate door handle. His breath, the steady, even breath of a man who was in complete control of his own universe, caught in his throat. Because this wasn't just a stranger. This wasn't just another homeless woman. This was her Elena. The woman he had once, in a moment of profound and now deeply shameful cowardice, so completely and so unforgivably failed. Her name was Elena, and years ago, she had been full of a laughter so infectious it could light up a room. She had been full of dreams, and of the kind of sweet, powerful innocence that believes, with an absolute and unwavering certainty, that everything in life will, eventually, and with a little bit of faith, fall perfectly into place. But life, as she had so brutally and so painfully learned, did not always reward the kind-hearted. After marrying young, to a man who had promised her the stars, but had delivered only the dark, ugly, and very real scars of his own rage, she had found herself abandoned. A single mother with a toddler to feed and a hospital bill she could never, ever hope to pay. One by one, the lifelines of her world had unraveled. Her job, her small but cozy apartment, even her friends, who had slowly, and with a quiet, guilty awkwardness, drifted away when her need for help had become a constant and very inconvenient routine. Eventually, she was sleeping on a cold, hard wooden church bench, with her small, beautiful daughter Lily cradled tightly in her arms, whispering fairy tales into the cold and different wind, just to drown out the sound of the hungry, angry growl in her own child's stomach. Each day, Elena had roamed the wealthier, more opulent neighborhoods of the city, hoping with a desperation that was a constant physical ache in her chest, that someone, anyone, might offer a sandwich, a warm jacket, or simply a single brief moment of human compassion. But most of the grand, imposing doors had remained closed. Some had offered polite but firm refusals, and others, so many others, had not even bothered to open at all. But today felt different. Something, call it a mother's desperate, last-ditch intuition, or perhaps even a quiet, divine orchestration, had pulled her to this house. So pristine, so perfect, so impossibly out of her reach, that even stepping onto the long, winding stone path had felt like she was trespassing on another, better, and more beautiful world. Still, a child's hunger does not recognize the boundaries of wealth and class. And so she had knocked inside. Whitmore, a man whose life was a fortress of carefully constructed success, had just returned from a high-stakes board meeting that had successfully secured a new $20 million contract. The media called him a visionary. His colleagues called him ruthless. But behind the designer suits and the glass towers, he was a man who had made a conscious and very deliberate decision to never look back, until that single, desperate knock on his door shattered the thick, protective walls he had so carefully built around his own buried shame. When he saw Elena standing there, time seemed to fold inward. His thoughts scattered like startled birds. Because years ago, Before the money and the mergers, before the marble floors and the endless media praise, he had known her. They were never close, not really. They were just two ships, passing in the night of their shared youthful struggles. But she had always, for some reason he could never quite explain, left a mark on him. Her quiet gentleness, her profound, unshakable dignity, her remarkable and very rare ability to make even a stressed and heavy silence feel warm. And one night, one dark rainy night just like this one, he had seen her being screamed at by her then-boyfriend outside a cheap greasy spoon diner. He could have intervened. He should have intervened. But he had been young, and he had been scared. And with a cowardice that would haunt him for the rest of his life, he had turned and he had walked away. That single defining moment of guilt had long since been sealed away, buried deep behind the high, thick, impenetrable walls of his own ambition. Until now, he let them in. The grand, polished, and perfectly quiet foyer now echoed with the hesitant, shuffling footsteps of a woman who no longer belonged in such beautiful, opulent spaces. Elena tried to explain, her voice a fragile, broken whisper, apologizing as if her own hunger, her own child's suffering, was a terrible and very personal inconvenience to him. But Liam was somewhere else entirely, caught in the powerful, unforgiving cross-currents between his own past and his present, between his deep, abiding shame and his new and very unexpected sense of duty. He led them into the vast, gleaming kitchen, space that was more of a culinary laboratory than a family room. He opened the massive stainless steel refrigerator and, with an awkward, almost clumsy uncertainty, he began to pull out food, placed it gently on the large marble island in front of the small, silent, and very hungry child first. He watched as Elena, her own eyes shimmering with unshed tears, hesitated for a long, painful moment before she finally, and with a quiet, heartbreaking gratitude, began to eat. Pride and pain, he was beginning to learn, were strange and often inseparable. Companions, as the hours passed, Liam learned fragments of her new and very broken story, the abusive marriage, the lonely, terrifying nights in the homeless shelter she had lost when its funding had been cut, the long, cold nights spent huddled in bus terminals and dark, forgotten alleyways. But she never once blamed the world. She never once asked for his pity. She simply, and with a profound and almost unbelievable resilience, said, "It's just what happened." The next morning, Liam did something completely and utterly uncharacteristic. He called his assistant, and without a single word of explanation, he canceled all of his meetings. He found the guest room where he had left them, and quietly, so as not to wake them, he placed a pair of new, simple clothes for both of them, 2 new toothbrushes, and a single folded note on the chair just outside their door. The note read, "Stay as long as you need." Elena, when she found it, cried. She cried silently, her hand over her mouth so as not to wake her own sleeping child, as she clutched the note to her chest. It wasn't just the offer of a bed or of food. It was something so much more. It was an acknowledgement. It was a restoration of her own long-forgotten dignity. But the world, as she knew all too well, does not change overnight. And trust, once broken, has to be rebuilt. Piece by painstaking piece. Elena struggled with the immense crushing weight of her own guilt at accepting such a profound, and she was sure, very conditional act of charity. And Liam, in turn, struggled with a guilt of a different kind. The guilt of knowing that he had risen so high in the world, while good, kind people like Elena, people he had known, people he had failed, had been allowed to fall so completely and so invisibly through the cracks. Slowly, cautiously, they began to talk more. Elena, driven by a deep, innate need to contribute, to earn her keep, began to help around the house. It was not out of a sense of obligation, but out of a need for her own sense of purpose. She cleaned the already spotless rooms. She organized the vast and largely unread library. And she began to cook small, simple, and incredibly delicious meals. And as she worked, as she poured her own quiet, gentle spirit into the cold, empty spaces of the house, something miraculous began to happen. Her daughter Lily, a child who had been as silent and as haunted as the house itself, began to smile again. She began to laugh, her bright, joyful voice echoing in the long marble hallways. For the very first time in years, the sound of pure, unadulterated joy had returned to Liam Whitmore's home and to his life. One afternoon, Liam returned from a charity gala and found Elena sitting by the window in his study, a sketchbook open in her lap, a pencil flying across the page. She had once in another life, before her world had collapsed, studied architecture. He encouraged her to draw again. She had resisted at first, the memory of that lost dream too painful to touch. But slowly, tentatively, she had begun again. His own clients. The powerful and often jaded heads of major corporations began to notice the new, beautiful designs that were now adorning the walls of his office. One of them, the owner of a major, international hotel chain, a man who was notoriously difficult to impress, asked him who had created the stunning new layout for his latest project. And Liam, with a quiet and very profound pride, pointed to Elena. That single, quiet referral turned into a major freelance project. That one project turned into 3 more. And within a single, transformative year, Elena, the woman who had arrived on his doorstep, broken and homeless, was now running her own, small but incredibly successful design consultancy from the very same home that had once been her only sanctuary. But the most touching, the most difficult moment came on a cold December morning. Elena came to Liam in his study, holding an envelope in her hand. Guessed, through her own hard work and her own brilliant talent, saved enough money to finally get her own small apartment. "Liam," she whispered, her voice thick with an emotion she couldn't hide. "You have done more for me, for us, than I could ever possibly repay." Liam took the envelope, but he didn't open it. Instead, he walked her and her daughter to the front of the house. There, where a formal and rarely used sitting room had once been, a new, beautiful, and very official-looking sign now hung. It read, "The Whitmore Foundation for Women and Children." It had been Elena's idea, a shelter, a support system, a place of healing and of hope, a place where no mother and no child would ever have to beg for a simple plate of food in exchange. For their own dignity. As the morning sun rose behind them, the little girl, Lily, who now saw Liam as the only father she had ever known, tugged on his sleeve and asked, her own voice full of a child's simple, powerful hope, "Are you going to be our family now?" Liam knelt down, holding back his own tears, his heart full of a love so profound it was almost painful. "I already am," he whispered, "if you'll have me." Final hooks. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of second chances, of unseen pain, how one act of kindness can change everything, please like this video. Share it with someone who might need hope today, and don't forget to subscribe to Kindness Corner. We're not just telling stories, we're reminding the world that empathy still exists. And before you go, please leave a comment below. It's just a heart emoji or a few words, whatever you feel. Your comment might be the light someone else needs today.